Is it live? It's live. It's alive.
It is alive.
Greetings, friends of the apocalypse. This is the Apocalypse Nerd and Atom Bomb Glancy coming to you from Podcast at Ground Zero, home of the apocalypse. And this is episode 34, Dawn of the Dead. So this episode, we are going to talk about the classic Romero 1978 film, Dawn of the Dead, and we will also be talking about the quote-unquote remake. I don't really consider it much of a remake except in name, 2004 Dawn of the Dead, which I feel as a standalone film is really good. But we'll get into that when we get into the movies. Dawn of the Dead, we also got I'll bring up some other dead stuff too that we got. Got some stuff sitting here that you can't see me moving around because I haven't brought it in front of the screen yet. So first we will, in the news, I don't got a whole heck of a lot this week. One thing I wanted to mention was something I meant to mention the other week was one of our followers watches the show brought up a post-apocalyptic series of books called Freeway. Is it fucking Freeway? It's either. I think it's. Hold on a second. I think it's called Highway Holocaust. It's a series of books. It was like a series of like 4 or 5 books that were kind of like a create your own adventure type of game.
So you could actually like go to page 34 to figure out whether your decision to stop for the hitchhiker worked out or something like that?
Something like that. It's but I can't like find any that are reasonably cheap. Like he says, like they're kind of expensive. So I haven't really dug around for them yet because again I haven't seen them cheap. But they're these interesting. It sounded interesting, because there's some rules to them. So it was a little bit of a create your own adventure, but a little role playing aspect with some dice and rules. I'm not 100% because I haven't really dug into it too deep yet. Because I haven't found any that are like, oh, I'll pay $12 for this book that probably cost $1.99 20 years ago, So
they're long out of print, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So I've seen them on Amazon. You could get them, but they're not cheap. So it's one of those things. Yeah, you can get your hands on it, but you're going to pay a premium. So I'm just going to keep on looking and try to find. If I could get my hands on them, we'll talk about them a little bit more. But it was just interesting. So if anybody out there, your local old bookstores, they might be sitting on the shelf somewhere. If you find them, let us know. You get them cheap. Send us some. We'll give you our address. So because unfortunately I don't have any good old books like I told Scott knows that we have no good old bookstores down here anymore. I used to have a couple of good ones, long gone. So I probably would have found them there, but the last one shut down 10 years ago. So I came across that. Also, coming out next month, I mentioned a few shows ago, was this game called 77 Worlds, which was one of the creators of it was James Ward, Jim Ward for Gamma World and Metamorphosis Alpha fame. That's coming out next month. Like the first box set is coming out. Like they're actually doing it as a box set with the rules. And just to remember what the game is, it's like there was these AI ships that were built to help defend the colonies. This alien invasion destroyed like all the planets except for like this one moon base, which had like these it's kind of like Westworld. There's like Amazon, there's like an Egyptian world or Camelot, and it's like you're basically living in those, and you can go out and explore, see the ruined Earths because the AI ships are defending. It seemed kind of interesting. Comes out next month. I'll definitely pick it up, and I'll be able to talk more about it once I get my hands on it. But that's all we really had. Like I said, still watching Z Nation and still keeping my interest. Walking Dead actually is good this season so far. First 2 episodes, like yay, they're staying strong for 2 freaking episodes finally, instead of being General Hospital with zombies, But except for that,
well, I have to go back and pick up the 4th season. But thank you Netflix for having the whole 4th season right there ready to go for me. I gave up my cable and did not notice that Netflix was keeping up with Walking Dead. I don't know if they're posting the 5th season stuff, but at least I can catch up on 4. So no spoilers. That's our job.
Yeah, no spoilers yet, but it's going pretty strong. And one thing I forgot to mention on last show, I thought about it pre-show, totally forgot to mention it. We were talking about fantasy weapons, for the apocalypse weapons. The one thing I completely forgot to mention, and I remembered it after the show, was what do you think I forgot? What is the one thing I should have mentioned but didn't?
Let's see. I had to remind you of the zombie bat, which was important. That was the most important thing.
Well, that's beside my bed. That's beside my bed. But
one thing we never talked about. I'll tell you, I don't remember us talking about ever. Was we didn't talk about the crossbow, which is all over. It is all over all of Apocalypses, whether it's
Well, now it is, yeah.
Now it is, but it wasn't there until I guess.
Daryl.
Well, no. I mean, Road Warrior. Road Warrior is where we suddenly got crossbows all over the place. That was the first time I remember them.
Huh?
But Daryl has now made crossbows cool. That's for sure. Again, it's extra cool for the zombie apocalypse because quiet, and Zeke doesn't know you're coming. Because say what you like about Zeke, he ain't that bright.
No, but no, this one comes from a world setting that in 1994, a runaway planet goes between the Earth and the Moon.
What was the name of the sword?
The fabulous Sun Sword. I can't believe I forgot to mention that last time.
Oh, the Sun Sword. You know what I always thought of with the Sun Sword was, I mean, obviously it was a lightsaber. Does it predate the lightsaber or does it postdate the lightsaber?
Postdates the lightsaber.
Okay, but it always sort of reminded me of the Vibro Blade from Gamma World.
And the Vibro Blade predates fucking lightsabers.
However, despite the fact that the illustration of the Vibro Blade looks like a lightsaber in the game, there's like an illustration. I remember the description was just that the fucking blade just vibrates at a frequency so that it makes it extra sharp or something. Wasn't it something like that? It's literally a Vibro Blade because it has this vibration at some extra weird frequency that separates the molecules and just cuts right through metal or something.
Yeah, I'd have to play. Yeah, it could cut. It's like the only thing that could cut through Duralloy.
Yes, that's what it was. It was the only thing that could cut through Duralloy. Yeah.
Which was mined on the moon. So that was our future metal was Duralloy. So.
Thank God we found a whole new element.
Yes.
For the periodic table on the
Duralloy, which is better than what was that stupid element?
Adamantium.
No. And that freaking horrible camera movie.
Unobtainium.
Unobtainium. Fuck you. Unobtainium. Come on.
Here's the part that killed me about Unobtainium, and I'm a dick. I haven't actually seen the movie.
I did.
There's some movies that I have been lucky enough, and some horrible things that I've been lucky enough to have my wife go and experience for me. She went and watched what's the James Cameron film Avatar, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's poop." She delivered the poop assessment. She went and recently watched World War Z and was just the Brad Pitt atrocity, and she was just like, "Oh God, just." And she also, speaking of apocalypses, and I'm hoping one day I can get her to talk about this on the show, she went and read through the entire Left Behind series.
Oh.
Because she wanted to know why are these things popular, what's going on, why is this a thing, why is this a huge thing? And it was awful. It was bad writing. It was bad storytelling.
Of course,
But when she saw Avatar, she said that that the unobtainium, they never actually give a reason for unobtainium. They could just say, "Why are we after it?" Well, do you know what it costs per ounce? It's $1 billion an ounce, or they have some money number attached to the unobtainium. But no one ever says this is what we need to power Earth. If we don't have it back home, everybody's lights go out. Like it's petroleum, like it's the petroleum of the future. If we don't get it back to Earth, sure,
it's trefoil.
Yeah, sure, the company's going to make horrifyingly obscene profits, but hey. We're trying to save civilization, so that they at least have some sort of bullshit patina over their greed about We're about advancing civilization. You wouldn't want all those poor people on Earth to starve in their, starve and freeze in their apartments, would you? Of course not. That's why we have to fuck over the natives. But no, it's just like their only answer is money. That's all they've got. That's as far as the script went was, money. And I'm like, okay, because that's what bad guys tell each other every day when they're doing bad shit. They go, well, we're really being villainous today. Yes, we are. Our rate of evil is up almost 75%. Excellent.
Look at those numbers.
Look at those. No one ever tells themselves, we're complete shit weasels and are morally reprehensible on every level. Let's go have some more hookers and blow. No, they don't. Anyways, that's just a gripe. But it's not apocalyptic. Moving on to actual apocalypses.
So yeah, the Left Behind here, she had a
Now, technically,
tell her I'm sorry for her.
Technically, that's an apocalypse. In fact, it's the apocalypse. Let's be honest. I mean,
I know.
I've read through Robert Price, big Lovecraft scholar, also guy does the Bible Geek. I've read through his book on paperback apocalypse, called Paper, which is about the history of biblical apocalypses in cinema and fiction. It's quite good. I highly recommend it to anyone who's got an interest in getting an overview, not just of the biblical apocalypse as written, but the biblical apocalypse as retooled to either sell more Bible or retooled to sell tickets or books, and it's quite good. Give Bob Price 10 out of 10 for that one. Buy his book.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure Left Behind or What's So Popular. It's like I'm sure it's very popular. No offense to anybody and their belief system, but I'm sure it's really geared towards the whatever form of Christianity that a lot of people believe in.
It's Pentecostal. I think is probably not a bad way to put that. Or evangelical, but that's really broad.
To keep you afraid. It's to keep you honest, because only the belief in your afterlife is keeping you from going on a raping, killing rampage. And if that's what's keeping you from that, then you're a bad person.
You were a bad person to start with.
You're a bad person to start with. Anyway, let's not some apocalyptic stuff, and you had mentioned a while ago Bob's book about the paperback apocalypse. You said it's called.
Always worth repeating. Yes.
Paperback apocalypse. Cool. And and also those books. Its series is Freeway Warrior, 4 game books created by Joe Dever, published in 88-89. Detailing the complete story of a band of nuclear Holocaust survivors as they flee Texas to the relatively safety of California. So it's on Wikipedia. It's got a little bit of information. It was based on the Lone Wolf system, which apparently he created for some other types of game books. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, so I'll have to dig into that a little bit more. But anyway, on to tonight's.
Now, I have a question for you, Jared. Because last time we were here, you said that this was because we're closing in on Halloween.
Yes.
We were going to be doing Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
But before we actually started this episode, you were saying that you are now ready for Halloween to be over this year. This Halloween, is it this Halloween you're ready for to be over? Or are you sort of having had your fill of Halloween in general?
Well, do we really need to take this on the air? You know why I don't like Halloween anymore.
Actually, no, I don't. But I am. Let's go ahead and do this on the air just to fill some space here. We'll do it quick.
Okay. All right. So, not that viewers need to know this much about my personal life, but 6 years ago on Halloween, I found my mother dead after she killed herself on Halloween.
Yeah.
So that's why Jared doesn't really like Halloween anymore, because all it brings up is bad memories.
It's never going to get better. It
does. It's not as bad as it was, but some years I just don't give a fuck. It's like I just want it to be over. Anyway, viewers didn't need to know that. They don't need to give a shit about my personal fucking problems. But
you're right. I'm pushing something that's way too intimate. But apologize for going out on that limb, but it's despite that, that you've come back enough to the point where you can at least acknowledge that this is a scary movie. This was.
Oh yeah, no. That's why we're talking about this. We're not talking about anything else. So yes, Dawn of the Dead.
Moving along.
Dawn of the Dead. I have the Blu-ray version here, and Scott's got the big definitive collection that came out by Anchor Bay. Put it out, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's got what, 3, I think it is, versions of Dawn of the Dead on it.
Yeah, it's got like theatrical, it's got European cut, and it's got director's cut, I think.
Plus some lovely documentaries.
Yeah, good documentaries in there. I didn't notice much. There wasn't really much added to the director's cut or theatrical, the European cut. I didn't find there was much that really added to it. So if you just want to get your hands on just the regular version, if you have never seen this, you're doing yourself a grave injustice. It's a moral imperative that you watch the original movie if you've never watched it. So you can just pick up the standard theatrical release from US and you'll be fine. You don't need to worry about the director's cut, European cut. It doesn't really add anything to the movie, in my opinion. It's because it's a small amount. It's like a little bit of time in it. It's like
I don't remember very much at all now that you're bringing it up. I remember that there were scenes inside the mall. Oh, that's it. The one scene that's in the extended cut that really stood out is the one about where who's the actor who plays Flyboy? Where Stephen David MG.
David MG. Yep.
Yeah, David is saying, I don't understand why this is a problem. I don't understand how this is out of control. We just killed a bunch of them, and it was so easy. What's the big deal? And Ken Foray just slaps him down with this speech about, imagine that it's Francine coming at you. Could you do it? And there's this moment of like, oh fuck, it's not fun and games. It's not easy, and that's the one scene I remember sticking out.
Oh yeah, because when they have playing on the TV, them saying it's like these are not your loved ones. Do not think that they're going to be okay. Oh, I forgot to do one thing before we start talking about this movie.
Sure.
Spoiler alert, people.
Oh God.
Spoiler alert. Okay, so if you have not seen this 1978 film yet, tough shit. Okay, we're talking about it. So, but spoiler alert. But yeah, they talk about it when they're on the TV about these are not your loved ones. These are not your family members. They're pure
instinct,
moving instinct. So.
Oh yeah. What is it that the scientist is played by French? He says they're pure. Richard France, that's the guy's name, who plays the one-eyed scientist. They're pure, motivated.
Dr. Millard Ruscha?
Rausch. Dr. Millard Rausch. Yeah, which is a
Dummies! Dummies!
Him and Dr. Forrester are the only people I have a lot of complete sympathy with in that film. The poor bastard at the beginning who's on the talk show who's trying to talk sense.
Oh yeah, so that's the way this. Okay, this movie. All right, let's talk about the movie. Let's set it up. The movie starts. The zombie apocalypse is already underway. It is definitely happening. It's probably been a couple of weeks. I'm thinking. Not very much.
Forrester actually says how many weeks. He says it's been blank weeks, and I want to say he says you have not listened. You have not listened for 3 weeks is what I think he says.
You know what? And I just freaking watched it too, and I don't remember. It's something like 2 or 3 weeks. It's not a very long time because again, it's this slow apocalypse because it's this classic slow Romero zombies. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
And all zombies were pretty much slow up to this point. There's a few examples of quick zombies, but all the way back with White Zombie and I Married a Zombie, and even the zombie on Kolchak, the Night Stalker, slow.
Well, but in this movie there's a couple of quick ones. The children, they move pretty fast. They
yeah.
The children move fast, and some of the people, some of them move pretty quick, but overall they're slow. So that's part of how it's more terrifying, at least I think, because it's a slow build. Because it's not like, oh, they're so slow. We could just walk right through past them, from the Night of the Living Dead Savini remake of it. And they're right, they're slow. But the thing is, but because they're slow, I think the problem is people aren't paying as much mind to them. They don't see them as a threat at first. That's why they keep on building and building and building to where, okay, this is now a huge freaking problem that we can't back out of because we've let it go so far because we put no credence on it. Because like the doctor said, this is, it's been going on for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's starting to break down a lot. Not yet, because even further into the film, after they get to the mall, they're watching TV, and it's several weeks.
It feels like, yeah, you're right. It feels like it's several weeks in.
Well, several weeks pass by that they're there, and they're still talking. A package of initiatives has gone to the president, so there's still organization, there's still some government even weeks in because it's slow, it's building defenses around. But then it gets to a point where, actually I think at one point it gets to be probably a couple of months go by because Fran gets
That's
bigger,
true.
bigger and bigger.
You can a good clock for the film, watching time go by, is her pregnancy. Yeah. But the structure is we start off and we're in a news station, which is great because you're in a place where all this information is coming into and going out of about the apocalypse, right? So you get this great sort of a way to fast forward the audience through how fucked up things have got.
Yeah, because there's so much chaos in the newsroom. People are yelling at each other, screaming at each other. Like, these are out of date. We can't put these up there. Put those on the air because every minute we don't have them there, people are watching. They'll tune out. They don't know that, dude. It's going down. It's all going down right now. And he's worried about his freaking ratings. So how people have not connected with it yet.
It's everyone's still firing the ammo they had loaded in their gun at the start of the crisis. So the guy who's the station manager is worried about ratings at a time like this, and it's like that's what he's always been worried about. And so the next group of people, like when you finally see the poor people in the barrio refusing to give up their dead to the police, everyone's more worried about everyone's more worried about the fucking oppression that it's the cops, man, we have to resist the cops. Not what are we doing? They're actually on the side of the zombies by protecting them from being put down. People are still, and the cops are all like, we got plenty of cops who are like, these fucking scum. They're all just worried, thrilled that they
that's Willie.
Yeah, Willie just wants to shoot some people.
Willie's gone ape shit.
Yeah, he's more interested in using this as a great opportunity to finally shoot the people he's always wanted to shoot.
Oh yeah, he's a total racist piece of shit, and he just was using an excuse to kill every minority that gets in his way. You know.
And again, it's like, you're just making more of the enemy, dickbag. I mean, you're literally making more of the things that are going to get up and chew your ass.
Well, since you mentioned that, again, in the beginning when they have the guy talking news, the way this movie, it sets the pace, best quote of the movie, one of the best quotes of the movie, and I just love this line, the way it starts off here. I looked it up so I get it right, is everybody that is not exterminated becomes one of them. It gets up and kills. The people it kills get up and kill. He's yelling it on the news station because they're just not getting it. He's like, people,
Poor Dr. Forrester. I can only hope that he saved an Alamo bullet because, he was trying to tell people, trying to get through to them. But the great movie starts off really great with a scene in the newsroom. You get a scene where the cops are not really dealing with the problem. They're being distracted by other bullshit, right? Instead of killing zombies, they're killing people. You
Yeah,
know,
they're worried about whatever it was, Sanchez or
yeah, whatever the leader was inside the
yeah,
Tenant building. Yeah, they're not really. They're having to go through people to get to the real enemy, which is just horrifying. That you're gonna have to. They're having to kill more people to get to the zombies to kill them because people are not convinced that their loved ones can't get better, that they're not going to find the serum, and
oh yeah, exactly, because they have boarded up in rooms, and they're like, don't go in there. It's just like a room full of zombies. They got them in the basement, and then
tied up, as if that'll fix the problem.
Because the old priest, because they run into the old priest.
Great casting.
He was fantastic. It was that's the one-legged Spanish priest.
Oh, yeah.
And he's talking about it's like, senores, when it's like when the dead walk the earth, unless we stop the killing, we will lose the war.
Don't listen to him.
Yeah. And then what is it? Roger asks Peter's like, why do they do that? And then Peter is like, Peter's like, well, they still feel that there's respect, and there's still respect in dying.
Yeah.
Because again, they don't realize the magnitude of what's going on.
And just that scene where they have to go down to the basement and execute with headshots all these zombies. Romero's definitely taken a page out of things like some of the atrocities that people saw in the news during the Vietnam War. There's that famous piece of footage where the police commandant, I think it is, of Saigon executes a guy in the street right in front of the cameras. Just doesn't give a fuck. And that completely, just knocked people on their ass when they saw that.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's that scene where they're killing the zombies. They make a good point about it's not doing Peter any favors to shoot people in the head over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is not having a good time. This isn't hilarious. This is fucking him up every time he pulls the trigger. It's fucked up. And maybe he's past that by the end of the movie. He's hardened some way, but it ain't easy. It ain't.
Oh, and Roger, you could see from the beginning. Slowly, he's losing cogs in the wheel. You could see little by little from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like he's got a grip on it, but he's slowly losing his grip, little by little. You could see it.
I'll give Roger big props as a character. The four main characters are Stephen, Roger, Peter, and Fran. They're the four people who steal the helicopter from the news station and escape. Roger and Peter are two SWAT guys, or if they're not SWAT guys, they're cops who've been stuffed into SWAT uniforms for the duration of the emergency. You know what I mean? You don't really know if they're SWAT or they're just patrolmen who've been stuck in these, uniforms because all the cops are militarized during this. But they flee the city of Pittsburgh, one presumes.
Yeah.
As things
was Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And try and get away. And get somewhere safe, which turns out to be a pipe dream.
And it was funny when they were escaping in the helicopter because they were at like the fueling station, and I guess it was a police depot, and they had the boats, and they're like, "Well, where are you gonna go?" You're like, "Well, we're gonna go downriver."
That's an added scene. I just realized that is an added scene with those guys.
No, that's in the theatrical, but they extend it a little bit.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. The cops are there, but there's not that weird standoff where the other cops go, "Fuck, why are we gonna have a fight? When we're just gonna leave."
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it does add that, but I don't think that makes or breaks the movie.
No.
Because basically,
the cop who says that is Captain Rhodes from Day of the Dead.
Yes, you're right.
Same actor who played Rhodes.
So it's just funny. They're like, "Well, we're gonna go up the river. Where are you gonna go? We're gonna find an island." What island? Any island. Because they just don't know. Nobody knows what to do. Because again, this movie and a lot of zombie movies, up until maybe recently, they live in a vacuum. They live in a world where they're in a world where zombies don't exist. Or they don't know about the existence of zombies. Whereas in this world, it's kind of hard to believe that, like, how do they not know what zombies are? Because it's permeated, pop culture so much that if you don't know what a frickin' zombie is, you've been living in a closet,
if they did a movie where people blew it because they obeyed the tropes of what they'd seen in zombie movies. Well, like, all right, Return of the Living Dead does that.
Yes.
Right? Return of the Living Dead does that because the zombies aren't created by getting bit. The zombies are created by getting Triox 427 on you.
Yep.
The hitting them in the head doesn't do shit. If they had some movie where somebody got bit and they're like, I'm bit, we have to saw my arm off and cauterize it, and then they find out, no, you really didn't need to do that. That would be amazing, because they thought they were in a movie, and guess what, kids? It's not going to...
Yeah, well, see, if somebody needs to make a zombie movie where they have to create new rules. So, and they could play off the fact that everybody knows the rules of zombies, all the variations, well, guess what? We're making new rules about zombies.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it for modern audiences, because it's so saturated now.
Yeah.
That you can't get a movie.
George Romero brought us this in '78. We'd had Night of the Living Dead in '68, 10 years earlier, and we'd had The Crazies, which is definitely, I think Dawn has got elements of The Crazies mixed in with Night of the Living Dead, because The Crazies is about how the authorities handle a crisis, how badly they can handle a crisis, and how it just keeps spinning out of control. That really sort of that worked for me. It's a great film. If you've never seen The Crazies, either version, although I am partial to the earlier Romero film because it's so delightfully low budget and they did so much with so little money. It's worth a look. But it's definitely got that how watching the authorities try and handle the crisis, watching people react to the crisis, and having it just spiral out of control.
That's a very overarching theme of it. Also, consumerism is his other theme in there. Because the whole mall thing about consumerism and shopping. But we'll get to that when we get to the mall.
Yeah.
But so I said we had that. We had the Italian zombie film came out. So we weren't really overdosed in zombies. You had Return of the Living Dead come out and Day of the Dead, but it wasn't this saturated.
Yeah, but
this last 10 years, it's been like standing. It's like what do they say? Drinking from a waterfall. Drinking from a fountain is like an avalanche coming out of a mountain. There's so much. It's too much. I really do think it's way too much.
Hey, Pride and Prejudice with zombies, baby. Are we going to have to read that and review it?
You could read it.
It's not an apocalypse, so we don't have to read it. It's just zombies. Poor old Derek Koch had to read it for Mail Order Zombie, but we don't, because there's no apocalypse. And Dawn of the Dead is absolutely unapocalyptic.
Yes. So they fly off in the helicopter. They're heading down. They're trying to get away, and they're just as they're going, they're flying over. They get to more rural areas. They get into the countryside, and they make comments that it's everywhere, because I don't think they realize the global scale of what's going on. We never even hear of what's going on outside the country. And they mention that later in the film. But even from Pittsburgh, like, oh my God, it's everywhere, because they've been flying in the helicopter for hours.
It looks like they're flying. Looks like they're flying over the scenes from Night of the Living Dead the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just scared, because again, it hasn't become overwhelming yet. It's getting there, but it hasn't. So there's still the rednecks. They got their coffee. They're hanging out. They got the National Guard. Everybody's still taking it lightly, because there's pockets here, pockets there, but it's not like there's not these herds of zombies coming, because they haven't chewed your freaking head off yet, and then you become a zombie.
My favorite part where they're showing all the people having a party and shooting zombies, and the National Guard's not even shooting because the fucking locals are doing all the shooting. They're just sitting around drinking coffee and taking
pictures, and
My favorite part of that is the guy who's getting his head bandaged, and I'm like, I hope that's a bullet graze. I hope that's from your buddy who accidentally shot you, in the scalp or something, and that's not a bite, because he's laughing and talking. It's like, that ain't going to be there's not going to be any laughing 2-3 days from now when that shit kicks in. That's, they're all having a good time now, but when you have to put Bob down, that's not going to work out well. That's going to turn into the last scene in Reservoir Dogs where everyone's pointing guns at each other.
Exactly. So so they're traveling along, they're seeing all this stuff, and they're running out of fuel, and they're coming to reality of what's going on. Because they're like, oh, we'll stop at private airports or refueling stations, and they're like, you got paperwork for this bird? Well, I got identification. It's like, wake up, sucker. We're thieves and we're bad guys. Mr. Foray, thank you. He's saying, listen, we're like all these other people. We're not the good guys anymore.
We're the looters now, because we chose not to die in place.
Yeah.
There's going to be plenty of guys who would be happy to shoot us because the opportunity under martial law exists to shoot us. So that's you don't want to be there for that. But the film really comes together when they reach the mall.
Yep.
And the thing about that mall that's sort of, I think, really important is that in 1978, malls, like zombies, malls were not everywhere. Hell, malls are a dying thing today. The big interior mall that's heated and lit, most shopping centers don't have a roof on them now because they're cheap. It's cheaper to maintain, and there's less maintenance involved, and it's cheaper to build.
These open area little malls, like the one around, like the plaza around the corner from your house.
Yes, University Village.
Village.
It's not a giant box. It's a bunch of stores standing around with walking space and pathways. But back in '78, I can remember when the first mall opened up in my general vicinity was the Altamont Mall in Altamont Springs, Florida. As far as I know, it's still there. And as in 1984, when I saw Dawn of the Dead, I can remember, as a teenager being all excited about having a mall in my area that at the time when it first opened actually had a sporting goods store in it.
Yep.
It had a gun store in it. Is it Peck and Paws?
Good question.
I don't remember what the name of the gun store is. I know that's been used as a joke in other movies where the gun store's name is Peck and Paw. Like Sam Peckinpah, the film director. But yeah, the very first mall that was in, for a while, it did have a sporting goods store in it, and I remember being delighted to know that my mall was equipped for the zombie siege.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because when they're flying in, they're like what? Because they're like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's one of those. Yeah. It's one of those new indoor malls. Again, rarity to have those big malls. They're still around. They're a dying breed now. It's like they're tearing them apart. Like there was this one down by me in Pompano, which was an indoor mall. They've reinvented it. They've tore down walls. They made it one of those open-air malls because that was the only way they were going to be able to freaking survive. So anyway, so in 1978, having that mall, again, that was the height of consumerism. That was like, this is consumerism, a mall, all your shopping in one place. And he's trying to make a statement about consumerism by having it be in the mall. So that was his other overlying, it's not even an underlying message. He was right out front with it,
And certainly there's a thing about that where, there's a haves and have-nots thing that goes on once they take over the mall and seal it off. They have stuff, and the masses are trying to get in to get the stuff. There's a metaphor in there about underclasses trying to come in and take away things from the middle class and the upper class, and seeing each other as a threat. Certainly, there's a metaphor of the way that the zombies wander around the mall, like shoppers do.
Yeah, well, because they were saying that, why do they come here? They're like, memory. If this place was important to them when they were alive,
Yeah, they're coming into the mall. There's no meat. Until our 4 people get there, there's no people, and there's nothing for the zombies to attack. So why do they come here? What was he saying? They were happy here. Is that what he says? Something
No,
like
no,
that.
it's like this was an important place for them.
And it is. It's a big temple of consumerism. It's like a cathedral of shopping.
Yeah. So they land there. You know, they run around. They have some encounters, and then they decide, hey, you know what? There's a lot of shit here. Let's see if we could hole up here. You know, and so they go through this whole process of getting into the stores, running around, trying to like you said, they had the gun store there. Brown Derby was in there. So they're running around here, and they have a lot of close calls, but they get this big plan to close the doors, seal up the mall, kill everything that's on the inside, so they could just hole up there. And while they're doing that, before they do that, they go on some small runs, get some stuff up there. They're sitting there for a couple of days. They're like,
learn some hard lessons.
Yeah, they learned a lot of hard lessons. They they're watching the TV again. And this is probably a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after they leave, and the newscasts are still going on. That's when we get our lovely doctor,
Dr. Roush.
Dr. Roush. They must be destroyed on sight. He's just, we're down to the line, people. We're down to the line.
That thing where he says it's not about the Democrats versus the Republicans anymore. It's down to the line, and it's like, yeah. There's a couple of problems that are currently orbiting us that we could say that about, but nobody's listening.
Yeah, and I like like in one of these broadcasts he's talking about, he goes, the first question is always, are they cannibals? No, they are not cannibals. Cannibalism, in the true sense of the word, implies to an interspecies activity. These creatures cannot be considered human. They prey on humans. They do not prey on each other. That's the difference.
Yeah, and again, what I love about, talk like that is that in some ways it's just too late. Everyone's yelling, and I'm going to be a dick here, and I'm sure there are going to be people out there who tell me that I'm taking a side politically by saying that the panic about Ebola to me is a lot like this. That you can talk about the situation reasonably and calmly, but if you're not sharing the panic that certain other people are, you are clearly on this side of Ebola, or you're not taking it seriously enough, and we need to do a bunch of stuff that's not going to help, but will make me feel safe. Like Christian Cuomo having to back off their quarantine of that nurse. When it turns out, whoops, we've done something, that's not going to be defendable. It wasn't actually helping.
Yeah.
But
Ebola, it's like.
And I'm not, I read The Hot Zone, and even though that book has got a fair amount of incorrect information in it, I gained a healthy respect for this bug, but it's not the Z virus. It's never going to get to be the Z virus. It's not the flu.
Yeah, we're getting the same amount of fear machine going on that they did a number of years ago. Remember when bird flu was the thing? How they got the fear machines rolling during it. It's the same freaking thing, but people forget. It's like, is it bad? Is it bad if you get it? Absolutely. But you know what? More people die of the regular flu than this. Just so I heard on the radio this morning they were talking about. A guy was reading how it was transmitted through blood or feces, and he's like, and the guy was like, well, just don't eat anybody's blood or poo, and you should be fine.
Yeah. Don't wash the body. Don't wash the body.
With your tongue.
After death, and then go cook food, which unfortunately happened in plenty of places in Africa because of funeral rites. But that idea of they couldn't get people in Africa to give up funerary rites to protect the souls of the dead, to save them from Ebola. Well, it's not that big a leap for Dawn of the Dead to say people wouldn't give up the bodies of their loved ones to be mutilated by a gunshot wound to the head. You know, they won't do that after death because it destroys the dignity of the corpse.
What hope exactly? So making that analogy, which is perfect, sir. What hope do we have?
If we think we're better than a bunch of illiterate tribesmen in West Africa,
we're not.
I have got another. Yeah, no, got another thing coming, kiddies.
Well, like the doctor also said, we must not be lulled by the concept that these are our family members or our friends. They are not. They will not respond to such emotions. And again, it's the same thing. It's like that's why so many people got bit and killed, and it spread and it spread and it spread because people were just like, oh, it's Uncle Bob. It's fine.
And what I love about Romero's bites on his zombies, and now when Roger gets bit, spoiler alert, I'll give Roger credit on one thing. He does not whine about it.
Nope.
No, when he knows he fucked up, and he knows why he fucked up, and how it's his fucking fault.
Yeah.
Roger does not piss and moan. All he says is, you can't afford to lose me yet. Let's get on the job. You know, let's finish this so the rest of you can be safe. You know.
Exactly. Because it's one of those things where, again, it comes to the question, well, did he, because again, you know, like in the Walking Dead TV series, you know, they've established that, oh, we all have the virus and we all die, which Dawn of the Dead never did that. They never really, you know, explain, well, why are the dead coming back? Is it a virus?
Although Romero, I think, establishes in other films in that series that any death results in reanimation.
Yes. But not explaining why. Is it viral? Is it? He never really. He keeps a little bit of a mystery, which I'm fine with.
Yes.
I'm fine with there being a little bit of an unknown.
Especially because if we knew, we could fix it. But, you know, as long as we don't know, it explains why we're fucking up, you know. Yeah. We're not adapting to the new reality because we can't change the new reality or define it, you know. And then we refuse to adapt and boom, extinction level event.
Well, the thing is, what kills Roger? Oh, spoiler alert. Why? You know, because he gets bit. Now, does the zombie virus in him kill him, or is it just that the human mouth is a nasty, vile, disgusting, bacteria-filled thing, and if somebody takes a chunk out of one of those, especially since they're dead, and it's even worse. You know, the living human mouth is a bacteria infestation factory already. Now you get somebody who's been walking around for a couple of weeks, and it's rotten meat in there. I'm sure it's perfectly clean, like you just brushed your teeth and went to the dentist. No, it's even worse. You get a bite by that thing.
I always kind of like
immediately infected. You know?
I always kind of like the idea that it wasn't necessarily that. Now, Peter says that I've seen people bitten before, and they only last a couple of days. That suggests that even getting them the best, you know, antibiotic care does not help. So that there's something extra special in there. Yeah. But Roger's death in particular, that they just couldn't deal with the infection, it would have made sense. That if it's just a bite, it's just. I mean, I had a friend who almost lost a thumb because he got bitten on the thumb in a bar of all places. But he got bitten on the thumb, and he ignored it for a couple of days, and then he goes in, and they're like, "You're going to lose your thumb. We're going to fill you with antibiotics, but that thumb could be coming off. Otherwise, your wrist is coming off. Otherwise, your elbow is coming off." And without access to, you know, modern antibiotics, he could have just fallen over dead.
Because the infection probably got so bad, you know, like that.
Yeah. So, anyways, the slow infection is, I like that because, you know, rather than you're bit and 20 minutes later you're running around as a zombie, because the slow infection means that the infection can spread further. If people are like, no, I'm fine, I can just get on this airplane and fly from London to New York, you know, it makes it worse. I think that the slow infection is actually more deadly and spreads the thing even further than the super quick one. The 28-day later rage zombies, no wonder they didn't get out of England. You know? No wonder they couldn't get on a boat full of refugees, all you'd have is a boat full of rage zombies drifting around, right, that you could sink at will, or a plane that would crash, you know. The 28 days later, rage zombies are easy to contain on England because people turn in, what, seconds?
Yeah.
There's no way for someone to go, I'm fine, I can just come right through the quarantine, because if he's not frothing at the mouth and attacking you, he's not infected. That's, like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me correct you, sir, and we'll get into that semantic another time. They're rage.
They're infected. The infected.
They're not, because this is my only pet peeve with all those movies is, are they dead and did they come back to life? No, then they're not a zombie.
Yeah.
That's my one fucking rule for zombies. You have
Let's
to
call them
die.
the infected then.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 28 days. They're just the infected, and certainly we've seen. Have you played The Last of Us, by the way? Speaking of not zombies, or
it's a PlayStation only game.
Oh, okay, all right. Just checking with the shroom zombies, the fungus zombies, and I guess maybe they are zombies insofar as they're animated by the fungus that's moving them around. So whatever was there before might be gone. But anyways, moving along.
So they get the mall, and they're watching TV. It gets deteriorated, it goes down. They fortify their fortress. And then, of course, it gets into. I'm just going to try to
summarize
through that, so we can get to the remake. Is it goes to show, they start getting complacent, and then they start thinking, hey, you know what? Because they've been there for months. Obviously, months have gone by. More and more zombies are out there, and they're like, what are we doing here? We're just dying here because we're not going anywhere. We're holed up, like little scared rabbits. What are we doing? And then of course, some people come along to help them out,
to encourage them to perhaps adopt a new plan. And yes, the mall is raided by this marvelous biker gang. And here's the funny thing about the biker gang, Jared. In some ways, the biker gang is more successful than they are.
Yes. And
is doing it right because they're on the move. They've got, they're organized. They're on the move. It's a big group. And in some ways, it's like they're actually. Now, one of the problems I have with, the biker gang is, sure, at first it shows up and they're like, they've been surviving on the road. They've got an organization. I like that they kept their weapons. There was like vehicles filled with weapons. They had like a van or something.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea that they kept all the guns locked up so that the various members of the biker gang wouldn't kill each other in the downtime while having arguments over shit. But when it was time for shit to roll, they break it out like, hit the arsenal, boom. Everybody opens up.
Yeah, they're just handing out, next is giving them whatever. So.
Yeah, and they come to raid the mall. Now.
They get stupid about it because it's like Peter had said, it's like they're a professional army. They've been surviving on the road since this all began, and that's months. And they're still around. But they get into the mall and they're like, "Let's steal jewelry." And
that was the thing. If they had been really doing this for months, they wouldn't have done that. They'd have had that argument about the TV set months ago. Now, the part where they smash everything that they can't use. Oh, I totally get that, Fuck it. Oh, look, Magnavox. They don't care because they can't use it. Why are they grabbing jewelry off that one zombie?
Yeah.
Unless it's like, well, my girlfriend likes this kind of jewelry, so I'm going to take it off the zombie. I mean, I sort of get that, but yeah, they should have been hitting the gun store, the food places, the important shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than the standard looting that we expect ne'er-do-wells to get up to, oh, I've got a VCR in the apocalypse,
Congratulations, you win the apocalypse.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of that part was kind of dumb, and of course our one of our heroes, Steven, freaks out because, again, on this sort of
consumerism, it's our stuff.
Yeah. He freaks out and does the thing where he's going to get proprietary about some shit he stole.
Yeah.
And it leads to a disaster. It leads to an utter disaster. And their little civilization their little micro civilization fishbowl comes crashing down.
Yep, and then also there was They didn't have it in any of the other versions, but apparently in the original version, there was written Peter and Fran were something was supposed to happen. Well, I mean, you can look it up on the internet. Apparently, in the original, they were supposed to kill themselves.
Yeah, they were supposed to. Peter's supposed to shoot himself, and Fran is supposed to jump up and decapitate herself with the helicopter. But what's kind of cool to me is they started.
Scott. Oh,
Am I
Scott.
back?
Yes, now I got you.
I was going to say they used the helicopter decapitation gag at the airport, just in a different form.
Foreshadowing. You know.
And then Fran's head that they built for that gag is used for the shotgun blast to the face in the tenement building.
Yep.
If you slow it down, frame at a time on DVD or whatever, you can see that head is clearly Fran's head with a fucking mustache and beard and dark paint glued to it to make it look less Caucasian and more African American or Hispanic. But it's Fran's head that explodes. So I'm like, I'm glad to see George Romero knew better than to throw something out that he was going to have that he could use later. Yeah.
So it's a classic movie, fantastic movie, 1978, Dawn of the Dead, George Romero, when he was still good, because
not so much.
No, he should not be allowed to make movies anymore. I'm sorry. No, he's lost it. Like I said, Land of the Dead, not a good film. It made it to where I was like, wow, I actually like Day of the Dead now compared to when Land of the Dead came out.
Yeah, it did make Day of the Dead into a classic. It did. Yeah, it's much the same way that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull makes Temple of Doom suddenly look like high art.
Yeah, and then he made Diary of the Dead when he kind of rebooted the whole thing. Diary of the Dead wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It was all right. It was an okay film. Again, it's nothing I'd write home about, but it was decent. But then he came out with, did you ever see that steaming Survival of the Dead? Did you ever see that pile of poop?
Yes, I did. It is a steaming pile of poop.
It is just, after I saw that, I'm like, okay, he's lost it. But, oh, he didn't have a budget? No, that movie was horrible. It was the Hatfields versus the McCoys in the zombie apocalypse. It was so fucking bad.
There's no problem with that idea of people who are fighting each other during, they're going to have a fist fight in a burning house. I don't mind that story. I was just, it's one bad CGI thing after another. It's one bad characters doing incredibly stupid things after another. And you're in trouble from the word go with that fucking CGI head that pops like a balloon.
At the very beginning, yeah.
Oh my God, that was awful.
Kids avoid Survival of the Dead. Don't ever submit yourself to it.
Yeah.
We've watched it and suffered, so you don't have to. Okay,
don't do it.
Don't do it. So, all right. So that's Dawn of the Dead. Also, at the time, I guess there's a game company called SPI. So all your old wargaming grognards with no SPI, they did do a Dawn of the Dead board game back then. It was basically the mall. You had a map, and you have a map, and you have your chits, and you could play the game. It was a couple of dice.
So would you hold up the map if you could, just to
Hold on. Let me get it out. By the way, when I got this game, it was sealed. Just so you know, I opened it.
Whoa! The sacrifices that you make for your viewers.
I did. Well, I didn't open it recently. It's been open for years.
Oh, okay. That's gonna give you more credit than you deserve.
Yeah. Let me back up a little bit here so you could see it.
Yep.
Well, let me talk so the camera stays on me so people can see it. Yeah, so basically you got your mall. It's not the mall of the movie, but it's laid out and you're doing all your crazy stuff in the mall. So simple, again, simple strategy, typical SPI games from the 1970s.
So the trick was you had to run around the mall, seal the doors, and kill all the zombies inside, or do you win when you seal the last door?
You know what? I don't remember. I don't remember. I've never read the rules because I was like, I'm never gonna play this. But it's one of those things I just had to have.
I do remember.
Well, wait. How the game is won? All right. Hey, I found the victory conditions right from opening the. Hold on. Let me look here. Because apparently there's humans and there's zombies. The zombie player wins the game if all three characters are killed and or become super zombies. The human players win the game if the following conditions are fulfilled. All four main doors are closed. Each one of the characters has certain bit of equipment. All the zombie units are eliminated. The zombie players, yeah. So basically, if the humans win if you kill the zombies and seal the doors, essentially.
Okay. What I remember about the game was the super zombie thing, which was that if a player character or if a human character is turned into a zombie, it becomes a more effective zombie in the game.
Yeah, because it's recently dead, so
it's even more problematic to lose people to the zombie hordes.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what I don't remember is where they were like there's no. I don't know if there's different types of zombies or if the zombie. There you go, Jared. That's our next. Well, I guess that's more of a zombie game. But I was going to say if there's any. There's a lot of board games that do zombie apocalypses, and I think that SPI game might be the very first.
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, so that's a game that came out during that time. So all right, let's talk about
Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder. The original script was penned by James Gunn.
Yeah.
Who wrote Scooby-Doo, by the way, folks, if you didn't know that.
Now, he also wrote, was it Slither? And directed Slither.
I believe so.
Which is a monster movie. And I want to say he comes out of the Joss Whedon stable of writers who wrote for Buffy and Angel as well. I think that's also where he...
But he did write Scooby-Doo. Okay, we just can't...
So you're just going to have to keep putting that back on him. And he wrote Scooby-Doo.
But he wrote the original screenplay, and of course, and then two other writers came in to kind of tweak it out a little bit. So, the 2004 Dawn of the Dead. Now, when I first heard about this, I'm like, blasphemy! They can't remake this movie. How dare they? But I will have to say that the only similarities that this film really has to the original is number one, the name, the title of it, and it took place in a mall. That is it. Otherwise, they could have called this movie something else. They could have called this Mall of the Dead. They could have called this, we like killing zombies a lot in the mall. They could have totally, completely changed the name, and it would have been a perfectly fine, standalone zombie movie. Okay? Now,
I should also point out that James Gunn's the writer-director on Guardians of the Galaxy, and considering how much money that made, he's going to be able to make whatever he wants. He's not going to have to Scooby-Doo anymore.
That's true.
It's going to be slithery monster movies from sun up until sundown with the kind of cash he's and cachet he's got with Hollywood now.
Oh yeah, now he does, absolutely. But now also with this movie, again, it's in title only. So I think really, and then there's some cameos from some of the original characters in the movie, and they try to nod a little bit to the original film, but otherwise it doesn't really resemble it much at all. Except they're zombies, and also they come from this. So we'll talk about this briefly too. Is they come from the fast zombie school, okay? Because that after 28 days later, which people think were zombies, that's when the whole fast thing started. Now, so this is fast apocalypse as opposed to slow apocalypse because it happens pretty quick. Now, how do I feel about? And we might have talked about this before. Fast zombies versus slow zombies. Now, again, I do like the classic slow zombie apocalypse, just because that's what we're used to, and that's probably the only zombie apocalypse I might have any chance of frickin' surviving. Okay.
That's why it's our favorite because we might make it.
Oh yeah, forget it. I'm frickin' lunch. I'm just fast food. Okay. It's but
not that fast.
Yeah. Well.
Neither one of us.
No, especially anyway. I could get the fast zombie genre, okay, to an extent. The way I could see it and justify it is when the zombies first go, okay, why do the zombies move slow? What is causing them to move slow? Why would they not move quickly? Is it because the brain is dead and it's not processing things quickly, so they're just kind of meandering around? Is that inhibiting them? Now, I can see when somebody first dies, sure, they'd be able to move normal and quickly because there's nothing restricting them. Now, as they die, if rigor mortis takes place, which it does after a while, then I can see them slow down as the slow zombies. But then eventually that's going to break loose. But then all this frickin' running around without feeling is going to tear them apart.
Also, without healing, we're constantly replacing cells all the time. Zombies don't, so
they fall apart because if they're running around, because everyone's like, oh, they're marathon Olympic runners. No, they're not. It's just that they don't have the same pain receptors that you and I do that tell us, hey, you can't run that fast because it really fucking hurts. Okay, they just keep going. So that's why they can move faster, because they don't have the same inhibitors that we have that keep us from tearing ourselves apart. And they will tear themselves apart eventually, where they got a bad knee, they're slowing it down, they've hurt their arms. So I can see eventually they're going to slow down.
That would be a great zombie, where they start off in the initial outbreak as fast as we are, and then months later they're missing a foot, their ankles are both broken, but they're still wobbly walking on them, or they're crawling, or that would be awesome. That would be an awesome zombie.
Yeah. Like I said, they start off fast, rigor mortis sets in, it's going to slow them down for a while, but then they get quick again, and then they get slow again as they start to fall apart. So I could see, if I had to say, okay, let's bring the old school and the new school together, that's my compromise on that angle here. But these are just fast, fast as shit. We're out of the gate zombies. So again, this movie starts off good. I really like this movie. I think this movie is great. Even though people are like saying it's not Dawn of the Dead. Well, it's really its own movie. It starts off with it's got Sarah Polley in it, who's the nurse, and it starts off showing, and even in the movie, the breakdown's pretty. It's just starting to happen. Things are starting to happen. There's the warning signs,
which she turns off. That moment where the radio saying certain reports are click.
Yeah. Oh, she's seen these things in the hospital. It's like, oh, he's in isolation, blah blah blah, from a bite. So all the little signals are there. Ignoring it. The TV's on. They're broadcasting. They totally miss all that. To where in the morning, it all goes to shit. When she wakes up in the morning.
Yeah, it's been to shit for about 2 hours, and you slept through the first part of it. Congratulations.
Yeah, so she's flipping, and then the movie really starts to pick up pace. Because it's got her, it's got her escape scene. All this shit's going down. There's some really good scenes and shots in this movie, because they do a lot of good aerial pullback shots.
Oh, your favorite shot is the helicopter shot over the city.
Oh, yeah.
You look down on it, and there's that car crash that's just, oh, yeah.
Oh, there's this amazing car crash, and you're seeing fires everywhere, explosions. It's just it's going down right now. It's happening, And so that happens, and then she winds up encountering some of the other characters, and then they go to the mall, because they run into a cop, they run into people on the street, and the one cop wants to go to Fort Benning or Bragg, or I can't remember what the military base is, and the one guy's like, I wouldn't go out there, officer, and then there's like, why? He's like, it's full of those fuckers. He's like, we already tried that back when there was 8 of us, and there's 3 of them left. They already tried to cross the highway, and they lost 5 fucking people.
Yeah, just trying to get across the highway. And the thing is that the zombies are fast, which makes headshots so much harder. And they're
impossible.
And bite to death to transformation is a matter of hours, not a matter of days, which is bad. But in some ways, it means in some ways that since it's hours not days, it actually limits. You can't get on a plane and cross the Atlantic if you've been bitten. You'll turn before the plane gets there, and the plane will not get there. But it's clear from the news roundup during the credits that
Oh yeah, it's global. It's global.
it's everywhere right fucking now.
Oh, and of course the opening montage with the Johnny Cash song, "The Man Comes Around," fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, that is it. It sums it up nicely. It's one of the best pieces of apocalyptic music ever.
Yeah, perfect songs, and that one freaking scene in the credits where they're like in front of the White House. There's like a chopper. There's some soldiers there, and stuff like a news person's come up, secretary, the microphone. They're like, go, they can't. Boom, they just like blow everybody away. It's just like it's totally gone in the fucking shit.
The idea that a guy rushing forward, they don't know what's going on, don't actually know what the problem is, right?
But they're just shooting.
But some guy rushes forward aggressively. I gotta get the story because that's important right now, and boom, the fucking security detachment just mows down the press corps. Holy shit! That is one of the moments you're like, okay, it is officially in the shitter.
It's totally in the toilet at that point.
And if the security detachment is so tweaked by this insanity that they just open up into the press corps with, I think one of them's firing an M249.
I think so, yeah.
Just of the squad, a
squad automatic weapon.
Oh, it's just awful. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's bad. that's really bad.
Yeah, so it's breaking down. They meet these characters. It's like, we're going to go to the mall. So again, that's the only other connection to the original film is they go to this mall.
Huge number of characters in the mall. Giant pile of people. Not four. They went with a huge pile of characters. A fair number of them. And they of course, something that Dawn of the Dead doesn't have. Dawn of the Dead doesn't have the unlikable, completely useless, no skill having asshole who is there to do everything wrong all the time. There is that guy. They have that guy.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And in this movie, and it's kind of a cliche, and but Dawn of the Dead remake, actually, he does some things really well. I really love the relationship between Ving Rhames and the gun store owner across the street, where they have a relationship that's just what they can write on a dry erase board and hold up and look at each other through binoculars. But they create a relationship between these two guys that is awesome, and it really worked, and yet it had. They did it in such a low-key way,
Oh yeah, and then because they're there. There's some security guards there who are total freaking a-holes, and then more people come, and that whole scene with the panel truck, awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Shout out to my friend Mish. He loves the panel truck where they're getting the people from the church into the. Yeah, the whole scene with the panel truck, right into that part where they go to the door.
Oh, that's great. We won't spoil. That's a great scene. Them getting out the door, fantastic.
Yeah, back into the shit they've been avoiding, by being inside. That moment is amazing. And I just got one line. You're gonna have to throw that shit right out of your head. When somebody makes a dumb suggestion, it's like, you're gonna have to throw that shit right out of your head. No way. It's right up there with what's his name, Murphy's comment about taking the tunnel in 28 Days Later, where they're gonna go into the dark, car-crowded tunnel, and he says, "This is a shit idea."
Yeah.
Do you know how I know it's a shit idea? Because it's obviously a shit idea. It's like, yes it is. That's how you know. There shouldn't have to be a lot of debate about how bad an idea this is.
Yeah, but the dialogue of those two characters is freaking fantastic. I just love it. It's just like
I still love Michael Kelly. Michael Kelly played CJ, one of the security guards, and he is the least well, not quite the least douchey, but he's, you understand his motivations. He's fucking terrified, but at some point, once the situation changes, he fucking adapts. He stops being a dildo.
He comes along and redeems himself. You know?
And I want to point out that he's in another. He's one of these guys who he's going to be a that guy actor.
Yeah.
And he's been in things like Changeling. He's been in things like Generation Kill, where he was the only officer that was, except for Lieutenant Frick, he's the only officer who's not totally worthless. And I want to say he was in an apocalypse movie, Flesh and Bone, which was about a group of survivors trapped in a hospital, an abandoned hospital that they've been using as their headquarters, trapped by a group of cannibals that's picking off the members of the. It was a film that was made for the After Dark Film Festival or something like that. It was a series of movies that were made, I guess, in the mid 2000s. Like they did it for like 2 years, and there are a number of decent films, and Flesh and Bone is in there and it's an apocalypse.
I remember. Yeah, what was that? The After Dark Film Festival. Yeah, they did that for a number of years, and we found there were some good films that came out there, like the Mexican.
Borderland. Borderland.
Oh, it's a great film.
Yeah, really terrifying, and much better than Flesh and Bone. Flesh and Bone we only gave it a look because it was apocalyptic, he's one of these actors I'm hoping to see a lot more of, just because the guy who plays the main asshole, the even more useless asshole. I mean, CJ the guard is actually a very useful asshole, but the guy who's useless is the guy with the boat, and that's a guy named Ty Burrell, who's a comedian, and this guy has gone on to he's on a lot of he's done a lot of good. He's done a lot of stuff, very visible stuff too. Yeah, he's gone and had a big career in comedy. He keeps turning up on Speaking of guys who know about zombies and apocalypses, he keeps showing up on Key and Peele. Oh, does he? Yes. Yeah, they brought him back a couple times playing a Nazi officer who's trying to. We has at the Negroes in the house, and Key and Peele are wearing whiteface. Nope, no Negroes here. And the Nazi officer starts trying to test if they're Negroes by checking their hat size and seeing if they react to cat toys. The Negro is very susceptible to the cat toy, and they're all like, yeah, that's not work. Oh, sorry, must not be any Negroes here. He's absolutely hilarious in those two sketches. But yeah, people have we've seen less of Ving Rhames these days. Yeah, we have of guys like Ty Burrell and Michael Kelly. But yeah, it's that movie. It's just so. Oh, and Matt Frewer. Got to give it up for Matt Frewer in Dawn of the Dead. Yeah. He did his part very well, filling in for Roger, really. Yeah. But so I mean, there's a lot of good, the characters, the interaction. Of course, you get some of the annoying characters who like I think part of their problem was caused, part of their downfall was caused by, I'm sorry, but the stupid girl that they have in movies, Yeah, who suffers no actual repercussions for her stupid. Nope. Nothing. Other people die. Big piles of other people die. And because of her. Yeah, but she just keeps being stupid with no apparent, downside. Yeah, that's one of those things where I would have picked up on she's got the crazy, and it's just like, no, you're bad. You get to be locked in a room with your dog and never talk to us. Okay. Slide a plate of food under the door every once in a while and change your bucket, but you're not allowed to come out here with the rest of us and do crazy shit that's gonna fuck our shit up. That's. Oh yeah. Well, that and the other shit with again, with the couple and the pregnant woman. How did they let that happen? It's just like, oh no, it's fine. It's like, no, I'm a fucking nurse, and we're all living in this fucking apocalypse. I'm gonna check on your fucking pregnant wife. I'm fucking. End of story. There's no debate about this. We're not having a debate. The whole part where they let people. Wait a minute. You let her and that guy go off to the Babies R Us department store and just hide in the back until there's a problem, and now we have 3 fucking corpses. Yeah. Not doing that. No, nobody gets to go off and be by their lonesome.
Yeah, so that was a huge problem with that. It's like, I don't know if that really would happen. So that's but then it would make for less action. So
there's a few stupid writer tricks in it. Far more stupid writer tricks than in Dawn of the Dead. Yeah. You know what I mean? Peter freaking out about and starting a fight that they can't win. Totally buy that.
Yeah.
The guys running off and taking all the guns and leaving Francine with nothing to defend herself with. You know?
Totally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That shit would happen once, and she makes sure it doesn't happen again, which is one of the things I really like about that character. She's like, I am not your fucking den mother. I am not going to be left alone without a firearm, and we are going to figure out. We're going to learn how to fly this helicopter because we're not relying on our only way out being this guy. You know, Francine's one of the clearest thinking people in the movie. In Dawn of the Dead, the original.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But anyways, the sequel or the remake or the reboot, whatever you call it, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's good.
Exciting. A lot of action. A lot of good lines. There's a lot of good moments in that film. There's one I was thinking of when we were talking, but I totally. Talking about the asshole rich guy with the boat. That whole dialogue. It's like So what you're going to say is we're going to,
that's CJ's line, but yes, go ahead, yeah.
I can't remember exactly. I always get it wrong, but it's something like, so we're going to, send this guy a sandwich, and then we're going to, take this bus, and then we're going to, get in the bus, and he's going to hop on the, then he's going to hop on the bus, cowboy style, and then
do some covers, do some,
covered wagon bullshit.
Yeah, covered wagon bullshit. Yeah.
Bullshit, and then we're gonna, to go to the dock to get in this asshole's boat, that may or may not be there, and yup, yeah, that's about it. I'm in. That whole freaking dialogue is. I did not do it any justice, but that whole little dialogue is just so fucking fascinating.
CJ summing up the plan. Just like I just want to say let's just check how stupid this is, and then he's like, "Well, fuck, we don't have any options." So, color me in,
Yup, yeah, okay, I'm in. So, a lot of action, a lot of gore, but a lot of good scenes, a lot of high tension through the movie, and then of course, and towards the end, there's another one of those classic pullback scenes that they do really well. If there's this horde of freaking zombies just pouring into this one area.
The scene where by driving through town, they have attracted the attention of everything that's moving
along the way.
Yeah, so when they get to the fucking boat docks, there's this pullback where you just see what they've attracted, and oh my god, it's bad. Oh my god,
it's real bad. And then just CJ again redeems himself, and he's like. It's like fucking kindergarten. It's like he redeems himself, and just the ending. Again, I'm not going to talk about the lines.
The reaction of our was it he works at Target or something?
Best Buy. He sells
Best
TV.
Buy. Sells TVs at Best Buy. Yeah.
Just his dialogue with Sarah Polly's character is just that quick, simple dialogue is really good. Again, like we said, there's a lot of writer tricks, there's a lot of bullshit stuff in this that maybe shouldn't have happened, but I think overall, a lot of good action, a lot of good acting, a lot of good lines. They keep it elevated through a lot of the movie.
The zombies look good. The zombies look good. George Romero's zombies in 1978 are people with blue makeup.
Yeah, well, again, low budget, period piece. That's just what they had to work with.
Tom Savini complains about his blood. If you hear him in the interviews, he's like, "Oh my God, the blood is pink. It's orange. I'm not worthy. I'm a terrible special effects guy." But Tom had $5 to work with, and he made that $5 stretch. He did a great job.
He did, and I think that's probably he probably wanted to redeem himself was when he did the remake, he did his own remake of the Night of the Living Dead, 1991, that came out. He directed, wrote that, kind of rewrote it because he didn't get to work on the original 1968 one because he went to frickin' Vietnam.
Yeah, and he his 1991 remake
fan-fucking-tastic. So,
it's as good as it could possibly be for a remake because, I mean, his options were either go shot for shot with no surprises, or his option was to give it just enough changes to put us off our footing because we've seen the first film a million times.
Well, he worked with that knowledge, knowing that you know this film and we're going to get you, because you think you know what's going to happen.
And he did a really good job with that. I think that was the right move and he did a fine job. It's eminently watchable. You're going to watch anything this week, yes. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out on that too.
Exactly. So this is really good. And what was really cool about this is when I got it, I don't know what happened. I think it was with the DVD. Like one of these little special featurettes that they had was this. I can't remember what it was called, but actually I have it favorited on our YouTube channel. If you go to our favorites section, it's on the favorites section. It was like this little 20-minute little video that they put together, like showing the breakdown. Like,
oh yeah, it's the newsroom.
The newsroom thing, like I can't remember what it was called, but they do this whole thing with the news, talking about day 1, day 3, and they're showing they're kind of showing the little bit of the breakdown and what's going on in the news. It was actually pretty. It was just this little vignette that they made, very low quality, but it was cool. It was neat because actually, what was pretty cool is I don't know, 10 years ago, me and my friends were playing we played for a little while, a month or two, All Flesh Must Be Eaten. The Eden Studios zombie game, which came out in 1999 before the zombie craze hit, and it's a really good game system. We were playing All Flesh, and we started off the campaign because I had the disc at the time. Playing that little 20-minute vignette was the start of our zombie game because this is what's going on in the world right now. Boom, 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 and he picked it up right where the vignette ended and the fucking shit hit the fan.
That's a really good way to get the mood and the information to your players without doing an annoying info dump, which is something I have been guilty of many, many times. You want to show, don't tell. That's great.
Yeah, it worked great, and it's again I have a favorite on the YouTube channel for everybody who hasn't seen it yet. So, and again, we didn't get into much detail as this because it's kind of newer, so maybe people haven't had a chance to. People may or may not have seen it, so we'll give them a little bit of a break. But it's really worth seeing. I mean, we talked about this in the original in detail because it's the classic, it's the original. Everybody should have seen it. This one, people may or may not have seen it because people maybe are hesitant. But again, just take the name out of it, and just think of it as its own zombie film, modern with contemporary zombies. It's good. It's totally worth your while. Totally, it's really.
You will not be bored.
Yeah.
How about that? The big sin movies commit is that they are boring, and Zack Snyder did not make a boring movie.
Yeah, and I'm pretty finicky about movies. I'm very picky. So that, and I shouldn't say that because I have a lot of guilty pleasures. Which, all right. So those are the Dawn of the Dead films, folks. So again, check them out. They're readily available. You can get them anywhere. Rent them, Netflix, Amazon. I'm sure one of these services has it. You can easily get it. You can probably get them cheap too if you wanted to buy them. Definitely worth owning. I'm going to wrap this up by just telling you what we were thinking about doing for next week. Not 100% on it yet, but I think what we're going to do is me and Scott were talking, and Scott came up with a good idea of let's talk about the apocalypse movies that you don't need to see, like.
Yeah, somebody, IO9 or Kotaku had this thing about, this film called Rollerblade. I put it up on the Facebook page. Yeah, it looks like a film you don't need to see. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about, I think we're probably going to talk about the apocalypse movies that you don't need to see, plus ones that you don't need to see, but you need to see because they're guilty pleasures.
Yeah, for us, they're the ones that we know they're shit, we know they're terrible, we know. We don't want to admit how much we enjoy them, but we kind of have to.
Well, there's my guilt. The first guilty pleasure that came to mind when we were talking was DEF CON 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Total guilty pleasure, crap movie. You know, the poster was misleading. Oh, look at the spacesuit with the skeleton and the missile satellite. And, oh my God, it's such a bad movie.
What's great is that poster was not made for the movie. That poster was a piece of science fiction art that had been floating around since the 70s. And I don't know if it's Michael Whalen or somebody, but or Chris Foss, but it's some big name in science fiction posters and art that they just bought it off of him and it plugged it on the movie. It has no connection whatsoever to the movie in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, it's special. That one's actually special.
So we're gonna need to do our homework a little bit on this one. So we're gonna be digging around the internet for the next 2 weeks because I mean there's stuff that we easily know, like you know the Bronx Warrior. There's just some awful apocalypse movies out there. We're just gonna talk about. You know, it's almost going to be like an MST 3000 version.
There's a number that I only know of because I saw them
on MST 3000.
Yeah, there's a couple of them like that, and the one batch that I don't know much about, and I'll have to do some research on, are these Filipino made.
Oh, you've mentioned this before.
Yeah, these 1980s vintage Filipino made, shot in a rock quarry somewhere outside of Manila.
Well, because rock quarries are the apocalypse, you know.
Yeah. We'll have to get around to warning everyone off. Metal Storm.
Metal Storm: The Destruction of Jared's Sin in 3D.
But, in 3D. Oh my God.
But I think that was less of a post-apocalyptic, but more of a space bounty hunter.
You're right. You're right. It's right up there with that shitty.
But it looked apocalyptic. It looked like Road Warrior ripoff, you know.
Clearly, you're right. They're lasers. I forget they're stupid lasers in Metal Storm, but it was clearly ripping off the look of Road Warrior. Same thing with Space Hunter, also in 3D. I think Metal Storm might actually be a rip-off of Space Hunter, which, you know, that's going way down the food chain if you're ripping off. We're going to get the Metal Storm audience. Really? Both of them? We're going to get those two.
Well, the thing is with Metal Storm, Destruction of Jared Sin, the bad guy is Richard Mole from frickin' Night Court with this big metal plate over his face.
And Tim Thomerson's in there somewhere.
Oh God.
Oh God. Yeah. Oh God. Tim Thomerson from every bad '80s film ever. Yeah. At least that shitty Space Hunter has Michael Ironside under all the prosthetic playing the evil Overdog. I think he's literally the Overdog.
Wow. Yeah, we have to research that. I mean, we could talk about things like the apocalyptic dystopian future of solar babies. You know.
Oh, God! Jared! Oh, God! Jason Patrick and Logan. Sorry, and Francis Seven. Richard Jordan. Oh my God!
Yeah. That's
fuck. Well, yes, we can do a roundup of films that. Firebird 2077 or whatever that. Oh my God! There's the list of things you should not have to put up with.
Yeah. So all right. So now it's okay. So I'm gonna have to do my homework the next couple of weeks. So that's our topic.
Shall we call this this episode The Forbidden Zone? Because
I don't know what to call it. I want to say something with cheese or bad cheese. I don't know. I'll think of something good. You know.
Bring the pain. You know. Yes.
Warning: do not enter. You know. No.
Nobody gets out of here alive.
Nobody. The quarantine. You know.
Oh. But, all right. That's our plan. That is our plan.
We're gonna, and you know, if we're feeling generous, we'll watch some of these bad movies just so you don't have to. But
don't expect us to do it.
Oh yeah, you know, I don't really drink anymore. I think I might have to become an alcoholic again. But I'm gonna lose my chip. No, I'm not really an alcoholic, folks. I'm just kidding. But it may make me one if I have to watch all those movies. You know.
Yeah, luckily luckily if they're bad and we've seen them, we don't have to review them.
Yeah, we just gotta badmouth them, you know.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
so that's our topic for next 2 weeks from now, which will be we'll call it the Forbidden Zone for the time being. That's going to be our placeholder, and it might just stick. So,
They
uh,
usually do.
so that's it. So we have bad apocalyptic movies, and we might even roll TV shows in there too. If it's bad and it's on celluloid, we're going to talk about it.
All right. We can even throw in books if you want to. Although, yeah, that's
a whole other show.
That might be a whole another hour's worth of crap. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, we could just talk about every survivalist book out there, but and Out of the Ashes. Anyway, all right. So we're talking about generally probably films that you shouldn't see. Maybe I'll leave out TV. So that's it, folks. Dawn of the Dead. Again, watch both of them. Worth your time. So
Absolutely.
So this was episode 34, Dawn of the Dead. Jared Wallace, the Apocalypse Nerd, Adam Bob Galancy, saying thank you and good night.
Good night.